about we give God a praise this morning? I don't know about y'all, but I think we got a pretty awesome worship team. If you can't get hopped up for church after hearing that, then something's wrong. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Mike McClure. I am the youth pastor, so if this is your first time here, please don't please don't base our church on what you're going to hear today, because I just get to fill in every once in a while. So y'all pray for me. I'm not very good at this, so y'all can say a quick little prayer for me. That would be awesome. But man, was yesterday not beautiful? It was nice to have some sunshine and get to enjoy a day. I know we've got a lot of people who are dealing with sick members of their family. People have had some deaths in their family, so please pray for those. My stepmom actually lost her 101.5-year-old grandmother yesterday, and that woman had one of the clearest minds of anybody I've ever seen until she had a stroke on Tuesday. Quick story about her. She was about 90 years old. This was a feisty little woman. She got bit by a spider when she was about 90. And she showed up at the doctor's office and she said, I need to see a doctor, I got spider bit. And they said, well, do you have an appointment? She said, well, no, I didn't plan on getting spider bit. So, today's message is chains. And we're going to be reading from Philippians 1, verse 12 through 26. It says, now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. Now, this is Paul sitting in prison, writing a letter to Philippi. It says, I am in chains for Christ. And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached. And because of this, I rejoice. Yes, and I will continue to rejoice, for I know that through your prayers and God's provision of the Spirit of Jesus Christ, what has happened to me will turn out for my deliverance. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage, so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If I am to go on living in the body, listen to this. If I am to go on living in the body, this will mean fruitful labor for me. Yet what shall I choose? I do not know. I am torn between the two. I desire to depart and be with Christ, which is better by far. But it is more necessary for you that I remain in the body. Convinced of this, I know that I will remain, and I will continue with all of you for your progress and joy in the faith, so that through my being with you again, your boasting in Christ Jesus will abound on account of me. Now that's a lot to read this morning, but y'all keep all that in mind. See, Paul wrote this letter, probably one of the happiest letters he wrote, while he's sitting in prison in chains and shackles. Writing about the progress of the gospel. Probably one of the worst situations you can be in. And he's writing about the progress of the gospel. But it's usually when we're in the worst situations in our life that God's doing the most work in us. And Megan, be ready. You know I'm all over the place, so you're going to have to work today, girl. It's usually when we're in the worst times of our life that God is doing the most work in us. That deep work. Not that superficial, artificial, God bless me with a good parking space type of Christianity. I'm talking about that deep, dark work that we don't tell anybody about. That's when he really shows us who he is. See, Paul was in a point in his life where he kind of had that old man wisdom, that old man knowledge. That kind of wisdom you're going to get to hear next week when Gerald preaches. Y'all ain't going to hear none of that today, so I hate it for you, but I'm the one that when I get in a room with Gerald and Mark, I shut up. You know, y'all got this. I'm just here for the ride. But you see, Paul's at that stage in his life where he could really care less about what people think about him. You know, when we're young, especially as teenagers, we worry about what everybody thinks. And I hope this person likes me. I hope these people like me. I hope this group of kids like me. You get in your 20s, you start a family, you worry about what the people in the neighborhood think about you. And you get in your 30s and your 40s and you have kids and you worry about what everybody thinks of you as a parent, as your kids. Think you're all in control. I heard a pastor say, the more you think you're in control, the younger your kids are. Ain't that right? If you got teenagers, you know what I'm talking about. See, he's past all the petty stuff. He could care less. The only thing that matters to Paul is his purpose. He's past the point of needing validation from people and caring what they think. He only cares about his purpose, his mission. It says the former preach Christ from selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my chains. But what does it matter? As long as the word of Christ is being preached, he could care less the effect that it has on him. Some of y'all need to stop worrying so much about what people think. I'm one of them. It doesn't matter what people think. What matters is the mission. It matters the calling that you have on your life. Because let me tell you something, especially you teenagers. I've got one, maybe two people, and you adults can back me up on this. I've got one, maybe two people that I went to school with that I ever even speak to or ever see. My best friend that I was best friends with since first grade, I might talk to him a couple of times a year. These people you're around right now, they don't matter. Stop worrying about them. Stop trying to impress them. They are going to have no effect on your future life, I promise you. Here's what's cool about Paul and when he went to Philippi for the first time. See, Paul got locked up in prison then too. At midnight, he started praising and singing. Started praising and singing to God. Because, you know, Paul knew something. Paul knew something about praise. Paul knew that you could either let your chains break your praise, or you could let your praise break your chains. So Paul started praising and singing, and at midnight, not only did Paul's chains fall off, but so did everybody else's. Every prisoner in there. See, some of y'all keep questioning about what you're going through. Why am I having to deal with this? And it ain't even about you. Some of y'all are in the middle of breaking generational curses for your children and your grandchildren, and you don't even realize it. They are never going to have to face the things that you faced as a child because of the chains that you have on you right now. You got to embrace those chains. What does it matter what people think? What does it matter what they say about you? I'm going to pick on Gerald a little bit. You think Gerald cares what anybody says about him? Nope. Am I right? Because he knows his mission. He knows what he was placed here to do, and that's what he focuses on. The stories that man has told us about what he has done in the hospital, not helping people get better health-wise, but helping them get better spiritually. I've seen him come in here in the evening for a meeting and be so exhausted he could barely hold his head up. But he knows his mission, and he knows his purpose. He could care less what anybody else thinks about him. Saw something the other day. I sent it to Alexis and Mark. Men, this is for you. It said, men are like German shepherds. When a German shepherd is locked up and doesn't have a purpose, has a job to do, it starts getting anxious, starts getting anxiety and depression. So it'll go outside and it'll start digging holes in the yard to give itself a false sense of purpose. When we, especially as men, don't have a purpose, if y'all heard my tithe testimony message last week, this is kind of where I was at. When we don't have a sense of purpose, we start getting depressed and we start having anxiety. What do? We start digging holes in our own life. You start digging enough holes, you're going to fall in one. Teenagers, stop worrying about what these other kids think about you. Who cares about what some little ego-driven punk cares about you? Who cares about what some little bratty girl who the first time it rains is going to drown because she's got her nose so stuck up in the air, thinks about you. I was once that kid. I always wanted to fit in. And it's not worth it. Get on your mission. Get on your purpose, because those other people, those other kids, those other teens, adults, this is you too. They don't have the key to your happiness. They don't have the key to heaven. They don't hold your crown. And they can't complete you. Only Jesus can. I can guarantee you right now that there is somebody somewhere talking about me standing up here right now. I would probably stake my life on it. Because I am the last person that should probably be standing up here. Y'all have heard me say it before, I was really good at sinning. What most of you are worrying about, God's already working on anyway. I mean, you wouldn't choose it. You wouldn't say, yeah, I'll take that. Some of you didn't choose to have a teenager that's off doing whatever, not doing how you raised them to do, knowing that they know better. Some of you wouldn't choose to have a child with physical disabilities or mental disabilities. Some of you didn't choose to have anxiety or depression or sickness. But you're not in control. Anybody a control freak? My wife texted me one day. She said, "Do you think I have control issues?" Because we're reading a book and it's talking about control issues, so I'm just not going to read it. I'll pay for that one later. But here's the thing. You have a choice. You have a choice to embrace those chains. Paul was like, "What? Y'all gonna keep me in prison? That's cool. Because you know what? These guards, these Roman guards think I'm chained to them. But in fact, they're chained to me." That'll preach right there. I don't care who you are. He said, "I wouldn't choose these chains if I had my choice. But since I have these chains, I'd rather use these chains on my feet and free my mind. Free my consciousness, free my spirit." His joy isn't wrapped up in whether he has the chains or not. And when you get to a point to where you can find joy in your chains, you go to a whole nother level. Verse 18 says, "What matters?" And whatever you put after that, what matters, is what your joy is wrapped up in. If you say, what matters is my popularity, well, then when people don't like you, you're not going to be happy. What matters is my financial standing. Well, then when you don't have money, you're not going to be happy. Does that make sense? What matters is being comfortable. So when things get a little bit uncomfortable, you're not happy. So ask yourself, what do you have your joy hooked to? Is it how your husband treats you? If your husband's treating you just right, everything's perfect and you're happy? If your wife treats you just perfect and everything's great and you're happy? What some kid at school thinks about you? What does all that matter anyway? You have a choice, guys. You may not think you do, but you do. Paul, talking crazy, sitting in prison in chains, talking like he has a choice. Dude, you're in chains. There ain't many choices when you're in chains. He said, I don't know if I want to live or die. I kind of hate to break it to him, but he didn't have a choice. It wasn't up to him. Dude, they didn't ask you. Kind of like that music was really loud, or I didn't like that song. We didn't ask you. It might not have been for you. It ain't all about you. See, he didn't choose the chains, but he chose how to respond to the chains. Maybe you've prayed for your marriage. Maybe you've prayed for your addiction. And it's funny how whenever people throw the word addiction out there, they automatically think about drugs. An addiction is anything that you have to have. If you can't go 2 days without watching TV, you're addicted to TV. If every time you feel bad, you got to go get some ice cream, I'm just saying, you're finding joy in a chain that's strapped to a paper carton. Look, Megan got both hands on the camera. She's like, would you please be still? Here's the thing, guys. How many of us have prayed for God to remove a chain from our life and it's not been removed yet? Somebody told you, just pray to God and he'll take the chain away. And 3 years later, you're still strapped to those chains. Maybe God just hasn't removed them yet. See, what Paul's saying is I didn't choose these chains. But since I'm in these chains, I'm going to use these chains. So will you choose to use your chains? What shall I choose? I'm in chains for Christ. I didn't choose them, but I can use them. See, Satan also gives us choices. We're given choices all through our life. They usually start when we're young. We're given choices. Your buddies are watching porn and they talk you into watching it one time. It's just a choice. You won't go to hell for it. You got God's grace to cover that. But you got a choice. Your friends are smoking. You just do it one time so you fit in, so they don't make fun of you. But you got a choice. You get a choice to vape, do drugs, to drink. You got a choice. See, here's the thing. A couple of times of making that choice, the choice becomes a habit. Just one drink to relax. That's all I need. Maybe just a joint here and there. Now, I ain't talking about some of y'all sitting over here, y'all ain't got none of that. You ain't talking about none of my sins. Just because I didn't mention the sin you struggle with, don't mean this ain't about you. Some of us gossip so much that we'd probably be better off if we were alcoholics. We can do a lot of damage with our tongue. Anger was probably one of my biggest ones I had to deal with. I'm as calm and easygoing, but when I get mad, I get mad. You get mad and you get your way a couple of times, so then it becomes a habit. Then those habits become automatic. We do them without even thinking about it. It's just we get mad at the person at the phone store. They work at a phone store, man. Come on. They're not AT&T. They're the person that works there. We cuss somebody out at the red light because they didn't go fast enough. We just angry all the time for no reason. That one drink occasionally turns into 6-pack a night, 12-pack a night, bottle of liquor a week. Just becomes automatic. It's just who we are. And we don't really want to do it anymore. We wish that's not who we wish. We weren't getting angry all the time. We wish we would learn to keep our mouth shut and not talk about people. But it's just happens. It's just automatic. We do it without even thinking about it. And then that becomes our identity. I'm slow, y'all give me a minute. That becomes our identity. It's who we are. It's how people know us. We come to church every Sunday. We do all the things we're supposed to do. but we're still a slave to sin. We're a child of God, but we're still a slave to sin. And then what happens? That just becomes our nature. Today's choices, especially my teens, today's choices will become your chains. Adults, today's choices will become your chains. That's what it means by don't walk in the flesh. To get rid of those habits that we formed before we become born again. You got to leave those habits behind. You're born again, you get to start fresh, but you have to make the right choices, or you will always be strapped in those chains. Gracie, can I borrow you a minute? See, Satan comes after us when we're young. See, if I came after Gracie with a chain, she's going to take off running. But if I can get her to make a choice, it becomes a habit. Then I can do whatever I want to with her. Her choices just become automatic. Take her wherever I want to go with her. Slater, if I break your arm, Keegan can fill in for a few weeks. I can just tug her wherever I want her to go. Whatever I want to do with her. Go over here. Got her by a chain. I got her to make one choice. Then she made that choice again, and that choice became a habit. Satan doesn't come with a chain. He comes with a choice. He gave Eve a choice. That's all he did. All he had to do was give her one choice. Maybe as a young man, Satan tempted you to watch porn. You made a choice, and that became a habit. Then you grew up and you got married. It was time for you to learn to be intimate with your wife. Yeah, go that way. Nope, no intimacy for you. Because now you treat a woman like an object instead of a person, instead of a child of God. Maybe as a young lady, you had sex with a young man so he would accept you, so he would like you. And he did for a while. Then you made a choice to do it again for the next boy. because you wanted him to like you. And then you grew up and got married. And now you don't know how to be intimate with your husband because he already likes you. So you don't understand the true meaning of intimacy. All because he got to you to make a choice, and now he drags you around wherever he wants to take you. Fear, worry, anxiety, controlled by the chain that Satan has around you. Here's the thing. We can choose what we do with these chains. We have a choice of what we do with the chains that Satan has around us. We can accept them and we can use them. You don't think Satan wants to get a hold of this girl? She's a worshiper. He'd love to get his chains around her. As a drummer of our worship team, he'd love nothing more. He would love it. Just get her to make a few bad choices. Because he knows what she's capable of doing. He knows the impact that she's going to have on this world to bring people to Christ. But we have a choice. We have a choice of what we want to hook our chains to. So you can take those chains and you can hook them to grace, and God can forgive you for the bad choices you made in your life, and he can use you. And the good thing about when you choose Christ, try to get away. No, come back. It don't matter how far you go. Go. Try to get away. No. He's always got you. He's always got you. But you got to make the choice to use your chains. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. Choose your chains. Try to get away. Go. Go. I'll lift, chick. You ain't going nowhere. Choose to use your chains. You can go sit down. Choose to use your chains, people. Choose to accept grace. Allow those habits of choosing grace to become automatic. And eventually that will become your identity. And then it'll be your nature. Somebody here needed to hear this message today. I don't know who it was. It was probably me. We all got chains. You're never going to go through life without them. We're all going to be a slave to something. We're all going to be chained to something. Choose what you want to be chained to. choose to use your chains. Let me pray for you and we'll get out of here. Heavenly Father, God, I just come to you today, God. God, and ask you to bless the people in this building, Father, and your entire body. For those that are out there that are lost, God, that you somehow touch their heart, Father. That they realize, Father, that their past doesn't identify them. God, that they know that you have a calling on their life and a purpose for them. God, I pray that we learn to embrace our chains, Father. That even though we don't always choose the things that happen to us, Father, that we have a choice on how we respond. That you can use every person in this room and every person in the sound of my voice to change somebody's life if we will just learn to embrace those chains. Keep us safe, Father. Be with us. Allow us to leave here a little bit bolder and a little bit stronger than when we walk through the door. I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, y'all have a great day.